today's episode, we have a very special guest, Imogen Edeson, our new CEO. Imogen started her role as Create's CEO at the beginning of July this year. Previously, Imogen was in the Deputy CEO and Advocacy and Influencing Manager roles. She has 20 years experience of policy, advocacy, community development and social reform, which uniquely positions her to lead Create into its next phase of growth and impact. We would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we gather on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present and ongoing connection to the lands and cultural beliefs.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Voices in Action podcast with Create Foundation SA team. This podcast is called Voices in Action, Journey in Care.
We are excited to be releasing our first podcast series. We have episodes lined up to appeal to the out-of-home care sector, fostering change and advocating for a better future for young people in care. We hope this podcast is helpful for children and young people in the care system and inspires you that you are a valuable human being.
We acknowledge that the topics discussed can be potentially triggering, so we encourage you to take care of yourself. Check in with yourself at the end of each episode and seek support if needed. We've listed some support services in the show notes.
Hi everyone, welcome everyone to the Voices in Action podcast. Myself, Angela and Fabian are here. We have the amazing CEO Imogen here. Hello Imogen.
Hello, nice to be here. I'm joining today from Bundjalung land and want to pay my deep respects to elders, knowledge holders and community leaders past and present.
Amazing. We're so excited to have you on this podcast today. And we're coming from Kaurna land as well. Today we've done our acknowledgement, but we're coming from Kaurna land, Fabian and I. So before we get started, Imogen, do you want to introduce yourself? You have become our CEO earlier in July this year. Do you want to introduce yourself and what led you to this role?
Sure. So I'm Imogen. My pronouns are she, her, and I've been with Create about 1.5 years now. So most recently I stepped into the CEO role a couple of months ago, and my work background includes about 20 years of experience in social policy, advocacy, reform and community development across both government and non-government sectors. And across areas around child protection, out-of-home care, mental health and culturally diverse youth services. So I guess what's led me to Create in this role, I have a real passion for human rights, social justice and social innovation. And that really motivates me to want to work towards systems that are really humanising and empowering for people that touch them and that address the inequities and inequalities that are part of the picture, I think, in shaping the real life experiences of people, and that includes families in contact with child protection. So I'm really also passionate about listening to the voices of people with lived experience, and I've had the privilege of being able to do that in many different ways to support culture, practice, policy and system changes across a range of different health and social service systems. I guess what's led me to Create is that I love that Create's work is uniquely centred around young people's experiences in a system that often centres around adult perspectives and can sometimes overlook children's perspectives. So I really think the work that we do at Create is so essential in countering that balance of power. I really see this come to life all the time across the programs and the advocacy work that we do, across the connection events and the empowerment programs and all the advocacy and consultation activities. So I love that the Create community is a beautiful, child-centred, supportive and creative place. And it's the young people that bring that Create community to life and show us the way forward as the heart and soul of Create. So that's what I love about working here.
Oh, that's so nice to hear you share that. And as Fabian and I are program facilitators, we get to go to those connection events, the youth advisory groups and the Speak Up. We get to see young people have an actual voice and share that and feel safe and really feel heard.
And it's nice to, obviously my time here, Imogen, it's nice to have you on board. Everyone has welcomed you with open and warm arms. And we can honestly see, for me personally, being here already, I can see and feel the change within Create, how we engage the engagement we're getting back. So it's really lovely. And so thank you. And it's welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you so much. And really happy to be part of this new innovative project, trialling a podcast. It's very exciting.
Another great way for young people's voices to get heard and for us to share what we're working on at Create to address and to look in the future where we're going and
make change.
That's what we really want to create. So we've got some questions we've got for Imogen today that we're going to go through, guys, for you guys to listen to. So the first question is, what are some of the main issues Create is working on addressing at a national level regarding out-of-home care?
So we have a long list of advocacy priorities based on what young people tell us. I'll run you through some of them. So firstly, improving safety experiences and outcomes in residential care and reducing the use of residential care wherever possible in favour of care models that are actually better able to meet the relational and developmental needs of young people. That's one. We also work on improving young people's experiences of transitions to independence. We work on ensuring that children and young people's health and wellbeing needs are met, supporting education experiences and aspirations of young people in care, improving young people's experiences of practice and caseworker support, supporting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander self-determination at individual, family, community and systems levels, and supporting children and young people in care to maintain deep connections with siblings, kin, family, to the extent and in the ways that really feel right to them. We're also really invested in elevating rights, diversity and inclusion, including a focus on participation, support and rights of young people with disabilities, young people from different cultural backgrounds and gender diverse and neurodiverse young people. And finally, youth justice reform's another big area of focus in our advocacy program. So young people and Create, really concerned about the overlap between child protection, care and youth justice systems, and part of the changes we want to see happen is an absolute commitment from all Australian governments to raising the age of criminal responsibility and criminal detention. And we're also calling for investment in holistic and culturally safe diversion and early intervention programs for young people who may be engaging in offending behaviours for different reasons. So we have a long list of things we're working on alongside young people. Yeah, and we'll keep working on them as long as it takes, and as long as those things are problems.
Yeah, we're not giving up. Create is here to address all of these, and I love that we do that in through different ways, through ways of our programs. And we do like to see improvements over time. Like, we get little policy wins and, we see reforms unfold in different jurisdictions and nationally sometimes and celebrate those. But there's a long way to go, I think, to make things really better for young people in care. Yeah, I know with Sibling Connection is so huge in SA. Like, we have regional areas asking us to run Sibling Connection events because they see how valuable they are. And they're like, we want this out in regional areas. So we're offering out that when we go out to Mount Gambier in October, and even Kadina and Port Augusta are asking us. They all love the idea of doing a Sibling Connection event because they want siblings to come together as much as possible.
Hey, look, the way we're going, Imogen, we might have to open an office rurally in SA,
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, Imogen. How does Create raise the voices of children and young people when addressing these issues?
Yeah, so we do a lot of advocacy work with and for young people, mainly around influencing decision makers. And we do that through analysis of what we've heard through youth advisory groups, holding meetings with decision makers like ministers, department officials, commissioners, advocates and sector leaders. Of course, we run the Speak Up program, which is all about supporting young people to engage in advocacy themselves. We write submissions on key issues of concern to young people. We conduct consultations and provide advice to government. We hold roundtables to bring together young people with policymakers. We do design sprints so that young people get to work on new proposed models and concepts and programs to pitch to government. And we develop practice guides. We just recently developed the most beautiful resource in South Australia, a practice guide intended for workers and for carers around sibling connection and contact. So we do that. We run training for workers alongside young people co-facilitators. We're also looking looking at diversifying our training and maybe wrapping in educators as well. We developed the delegate statement from the national conference held in Adelaide earlier this year. So those are kind of some of the ways, but really what young people have to tell us through all those different ways really has implications for governments. It has implications for service providers, for workers and practitioners, for carers, for schools and education providers, health services and the community at large. So our hope is that bringing the voices of young people to the centre of conversation and decisions around systems, policies and practices, will actually really impact real life experiences of some of these systems and services on young people.
Yeah. And it really gives the young people that voice and that empowerment to really start to make change and feel heard. And they come to heal what's going on in their past or what's currently happening to them. It's a really great way for them to heal and come to understand what has happened to them or still happening to them or to their family.
So through attending our program, through just chatting, youth advisory groups and connecting, they seem to come back at that later age, but with a better understanding of not only what we do, but why the department work the way they do, the way they have to, and just the reasons why. They just sort of connect all the dots, and it feels like that we are a little pathway for them to do that on the sort of side, to connect all the dots and to really make sense of their time in care and with other organisations.
Especially being able that they can access to us their 26th birthday. They can come back to us when they maybe are reflecting or want to have that voice. So it's really special when you do see someone come back and you're like, wow, we are making such a great, huge difference.
It's really nice.
I think the Create community provides, a sense of belonging and a safe place to make meaning from life experiences and to come together with others who maybe have similar life experiences and to do that work, I guess, of translating lived experience into really focused advice to try and make things better for other young people and children. And I see that drive in so many young people who are so motivated to make things different and make things better for others.
And that actually goes on with the great question number 3 is why is it important to involve young people in advocacy?
Well, I find often children and young people in care tell Create that they feel they lack agency and don't have a voice in a lot of decisions that actually affect them. So we think that young people's voices should be at the heart of both decisions that affect them individually and reforms to the care system that also affect them. I think there's really good reason for listening to the voices of young people with lived experience. They're the best able to define the problems and design the solutions because the best ideas in my experience come from people with lived experience who know in an embodied way how current systems look and feel for them and what would make them better. So I feel like people with lived experience are able to show everyone else where there might be blind spots, where there are unexpected gaps, where there are unintended consequences or unfair practices that are adversely affecting them. And they can tell us what they're getting too much of, not enough of. And I feel like we won't completely know what needs to change without asking the people who directly experience it. So for all of us working in and around the system as advocates or policymakers, system stewards or service providers, we have so much to learn from listening to young people about their experiences of care. And by really hearing what they have to say and taking action on it, I think we can support other children and young people to kind of grow up safe, well supported and reach their full potential. So I think that's the benefit.
Yeah, excellent. And thanks, Imogen. Last question, and I love this one. I can't wait for the answer. What's your vision for Create in the next 5 years now that you are CEO?
Yeah, well, what I love about working at Create is that we're all very passionate and values driven in the work that we do, and it comes to life, I think, in how we privilege the voices of young people. And I see us go to great lengths in how we connect and empower young people and advocate alongside them for real change. So I'm looking forward to supporting Create's teams to innovate, collaborate and adapt to emerging needs and opportunities for young people over coming times. And I hope that in 5 years we would see Create as an organisation that's creative, adaptive, evolving with the needs of children and young people, that's accessible and responsive to children and young people, part of a strong network of people and other organisations trying to do things better through collective action on things that matter. I'd like to see creators courageous and impactful in our advocacy. And I'd like to see a happy and thriving Create community and happy and thriving Create teams really showing up for their communities of young people locally. And more broadly, I would hope to see a system in 5 years that is similarly brave in listening to and acting on the voices of children and young people, and that is able to elevate rights and choice as the top value, informing how systems are designed and how they operate, like the system to find ways to provide meaningful, voluntary and holistic supports really early to families before things get really hard, and a system that redresses disadvantage, intergenerational trauma, overrepresentation of First Nations people in child protection, care and justice systems, and a system really built on relationships, support, coordination and social justice.
Oh, I'm so excited listening to this today and listening where we're going, and I feel really safe and happy, excited that we have you here and where Create is going.
Yeah, and the relationships are building already. They're happening as we speak, and it's I've never engaged with services so much in the last 12 months, but it's been brilliant though. It's been so good, and now it's created a snowball effect. So it's tick, 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 Imogen, for all of those above.
Good.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've got a great team here in SA. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the future as well with Create. So thank you.
Imogen, do you have a quick message to give to young people on behalf of Create, just to end this podcast from our conversation today?
Yes, thanks, Angela. I'd just like young people to know how genuinely committed Create is to listening to you and showing up for you. We will work really hard to make sure your voices are listened to by us and by others. And, Create is really here to help you connect with community, feel empowered and influence change. So your voices matter and your experiences make you the experts when it comes to making things better for kids in care. So we're right here getting behind you, and can't wait to work alongside our community of young people going forward.
Thank you so much, Imogen.
Thank you.
Thank you. So good and special to have you on. Thank you everyone for listening, and tune in to our next episode following next week. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the episode of the Voices in Action Journey in Care podcast. Remember, we have support services listed in the show notes. If you liked this episode, spread the word and leave us a review. Thank you.